Welcome to the New York Outlook for Tuesday, the 19th of March 2024, starting off with the economic calendar. As we know, there's no red folder news events for today, and thus economic events have no bearing on our trading. Then if we move to the daily chart, just to quickly recap, we understand that there's been 3 consecutive bearish candle closures, and thus our daily bias is to long for today. From a 4H perspective, we understand that we are in an unconfirmed scenario as stated previously in previous outlooks and end of day reviews, and thus we focused on an unconfirmed scenario with the objective of trading from one 4H OB to the next, and currently we're reacting to the pro-trend unconfirmed OB. Again, I call it pro-trend unconfirmed because the long leg is yet to be validated by a break of structure right here. So having said that, there's reasons to long. In terms of shorts, there isn't really any 4H OB backing to support any shorts until we get to this area right here. Again, this is a primary pro-trend unconfirmed leg that I can mark out right here. So this would be the pro-trend previously confirmed primary leg, and the reason why I call it pro-trend previously confirmed because it's on the assumption that if this is a liquidity grab, then whatever is considered the pro-trend move is probably this that will ultimately prevail and make a lower low. But the reason why we weren't interested in trading any 4H OBs from these areas is because it's too far and unrelated to what is happening right here. So for that reason, we don't really consider it, and we instead waited for order flow to validate this leg. And now we have reasons to trade both directions. However, for the New York session specifically, we only have reason to trade long. And that's because we're reacting to this pro-trend unconfirmed OB until we reach that OB specifically. Having said all of that, how are we going to approach the New York session? Well, the only way we can validate a long is for the London low of the day to be validated by New York taking out the London high, at which point we can then consider if price returns down, and then we can try and find an entry based on our FUB level, and then potentially target this area right here because this is an unliquidated Asia area which is likely to be targeted. So what would that look like? Essentially, we need the New York session to validate this this low by taking out the London range high, and then we will anchor our FUB something like this to the extreme and try and find an entry in and around these areas. So with the objective of at least achieving a 1 to 3 by the average daily range, which is about 40 well 70% of the daily range, which is roughly 47 pips. So for that purposes, if we use this level with a stop loss covering that, so that's 15, 16, 17, I like to edit 2 pip spread, and then so that wouldn't really cut it entirely. The next option is this, which may work, but is probably quite a big ask to ask for price to come all the way down here. The other thing to take into account is the fact that I want to not take any trades 30 minutes before the end of the session, so this would be 30 minutes before. Okay, so that's how I position myself. Because we do have Asia liquidity above, there is reason to be slightly more aggressive, and for that reason I may consider using this level at a 2.8 R rather than this level, just because there's reason to be aggressive, but I'm still ironing out the rules on when this makes sense. But since a 1 to 3, I mean, if we're being logical and mechanical, a 1 to 3 is impossible. So although we are very close at a 2.8, we can somewhat make it work because we just point to, I can somewhat argue why this level does make sense. But if we're being strict, this would be the good level. Although I think I'd be okay with that as well. So that's how I'll approach the New York outlook. The New York session. I hope you enjoyed the outlook, and we'll chat again for the end of day review.